Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the ToBeGosu Cup in Manchester, in the Mad Labs venue, where they'll be doing a very interesting format, a tournament called the Duel format. This is a bit unconventional, it's not like usual Conquest stuff. The organiser wants to try something new, which I respect. It's a lot like a very traditional card games, much like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic. So I'm Aquablad. I'm going to be casting and streaming this event today. I'm not actually in Manchester myself, I'm actually in Wales, strangely enough, but I know the guys there, and I'm just going to show you some of the games and what this format is really capable of. So I'm just going to go through the rules just very quickly, just to give you a general idea of what's going on. So each player can have one deck only for the entire tournament, and every game is only a best of 3. In the first game, you have to use a standard list, which they submit to the tournament organiser, but after that game, they can dip into their 12 card sideboard and make some alterations based on their matchups. So this creates some interesting dynamics based on their sideboards. Do they build another deck? Like, could you build Mid Hunter and have Face Hunter in your sideboard, or do you put some more tech cards in, like Kezan Mystic, Harrison Jones, Big Game Hunter, stuff like that? So it's interesting to see what ideas these players come up. It really complements a kind of a deck building skill, which sometimes you don't see as much in Hearthstone at the moment because there's very much an established meta. So once they've played these games, the sideboards are reset and they go back to their set lists. So we've just had a Swiss where we had the players go at it, and we've got the victors from the Swiss, which will now go into a bracket. 5 players will be going into this bracket, with the guy at the top of the Swiss already in the grand final. So basically we have 4 players now competing in a standard single elimination bracket to decide who plays the grand finalist. So coming up now, we're going to have the 2 guys who topped their two of the top guys from this Swiss group. We have Rez and RolyPoly, and I'm going to get them lined up into the game right now. But just to say that RhiRhi is giving away some awesome goodies, which you can see in the rotation of the images here. The first place will get a Black Widow keyboard. Second place will get the mouse, I think it's called the Orochi, if I've pronounced that correctly. And third place will get some kind of Hearthstone goodies, shot glasses, cuddly toys, that sort of thing. So I'm just going to speak to the players now, and let's see, get them underway. So I know that Rez is going to be playing a Warlock. Is it a Warlock? No, so Rez is going to be playing a Paladin, and RolyPoly's opponent is going to be playing a Warlock. So there's a lot of variations that can come from here. We could see some Control Paladin, some Aggro Paladin. We could see from the Warlock, it could be anything, Zoo, Demon Lock, all sorts of stuff. So we're going to begin into the game right away. Oh, actually it's a Priest. I was told it was a Warlock. My apologies, guys. So Rez will be taking the Priest, it seems, and RolyPoly will be taking the Paladin.
The light shall bring victory.
I will fight with honor.
So looking from the mulligan here, some wonderful spectator client methods here. Alright, so we're having some issues here with the spectator client, that's no surprise. But it looks like standard control paladin versus standard mid-range paladin. I'm gonna see if I can get into this. I can only seem to spectate one game at once. This seems quite strange. They are actually on a LAN right now. So I'm going to speak to the tournament organizer right now and see if we can get this sorted. So just bear with me for one moment, guys. Alright, well I'm just going to roll with this. Let's see how this goes. So,
is someone injured?
We see a Northshire Claire and a Zombie Chow. Very standard kind of control stuff. Zombie Chow's kind of dip in and out of control priests. They're not as common as they used to be, but I don't know what style of priest it is, as I can't see the hand. As for the paladin, it looks very mid-rangey, you know, double quartermasters, shielded mini bar. No, it's pretty standard. So what would be interesting here is to figure out what they've got in their sideboards, because obviously your sideboard will very much cater to your matchups. Okay, so this is actually Grinder Priest, which is where Zombie Chows, Deathlords are most common, and this is a very good kind of anti-aggro deck. So Rez is probably thinking maybe there's a lot of aggro going around in this tournament. So yeah, as you can see, the spectator client is being very awkward. Alright, so we've got it. So yeah, it is a Grinder Priest, but with a Balgrin, which is not a very common pick for Grinder Priest. Oh, we see a Kesen Mystic as well, okay. So, RolyPoly here, he's got good board control here, but these Zombie Chows are going to do some work here, clear up some minions. They're definitely not going to make much of an effect. And the Priest is going to stabilise, but he's going to need something like a Light Bomb to come up soon. And we see a Tyrion in RolyPoly's hand, which is going to be a bit of a nightmare for the Priest, unless he picks up a Mind Control, or maybe say a Shadow Word Death. So he's got to clear this Sludge Belcher quite efficiently. Decides to play the Knife Jug. I'm going to probably go for a bit of RNG here with the knife. Hoping they hit the Sludge Belcher, and that's perfect. Lines up there. The Kesen is going to trade. So right now the Paladin's quite far ahead. He has a very healthy board, and the Priest doesn't really have any answers to it just yet. And the Circle of Healing's not really going to do a lot here. I mean, he's got the Cabal Shadow Priest. He gets to take the 2/4, which is quite good. He gains a bit of board now, but as we can see, RolyPoly's got a lot of good options in his hand here. He can go for a Consecrate if he wants. I think a Forest-Son's probably the best play here, because it lines up a Tyrion next turn. And how are you guys doing in the stream? Are you guys from Manchester, and that's why you're tuning in, can turn up today? So RolyPoly's got some interesting trading options. He could actually buff his tokens again, which would be pretty good. It gives him a lot more board, but what he's probably considering here is, does he want the Tyrion next turn? And I think he does. And if he knew Rez's hand, he definitely would want the Tyrion. So the Forest-Son comes down here. A nice knife there. So he decides to use the Knife Jug. Oh, okay, it doesn't matter. He's just going to trade everything, protect his Forest-Son, so we could make his hand a little bit cheaper. So the Priest player here, a Golden Priest, so he's got some experience. Oh, okay, so he's got the Shadow Word Death. Now, he's probably thinking, great, I can deal with this Forest-Son now, but the problem is, we have a Tyrion lined up for next play, so he's not going to be very happy with this. We're very happy when he sees this Tyrion drop next turn. And the Circle of Healing is pretty standard here. 4/7 is a very bulky minion. A Paladin usually needs like an Equality and something to deal with that, or like a True Silverman minion to trade. But we see the Tyrion go down, and this is going to be a bit of trouble for Rez, because he doesn't really have a way to deal with the Divine Shield straight away. I mean, the Vol'jin can definitely come into play here at some point, but right now it's just a bit awkward. So he decides to drop his own Forest-Son here and start making his hand cheaper. Right now it's looking... It could go either way depending on the draws. We'll see what RolyPoly picks up off the top here. So he gets a Zombie Chow, not very helpful at this point in the match. So a Sludge Belcher's going to come down, drops the Zombie Chow. So he's just going to fill up his board and probably trade into the Forest-Son here with the Tyrion.
Reporting for duty.
So the Tyrion's most certainly going to get a 2-for-1 here. The Holy Nova will probably clear it up, but you're going to get that juicy weapon, an I5-free weapon to deal with most of the stuff any priest can drop. The Ashspring is an excellent weapon against control matches, especially because it's got such a huge attack power. You can just basically deal with a lot of the threats, or the kind of the mid-range threats that these players are dropping. That's why Gorehowl's so so powerful in, like, say, a control matchup, because it just takes minions out so easily. That's kind of a similar thing that Ashbringer does, and also acts as a big threat as well because it's got 3 durability, it's got 5 damage, so there's 15 damage over 3 turns, and if a priest hasn't got a way to stop that Ashbringer, he can just lose his board or lose his health. So right now, RolyPoly's looking really, really solid. So he opts a heal here. He makes the trade. Okay, so he deals with the board really efficiently with that holy number and sets up some protection with the Death Lord. Now, oh, an equality, okay. So an equality consecrate wouldn't be too bad, but it might just be worth holding on to it because he is playing a priest. So it's a control matchup. You want to keep your big swinging cards like equality for later, for when bigger stuff comes down that you can't deal with, like a Sarah, for example. So gets another mind control. That's a second mind control tag. That's very interesting actually. This paladin seems to be teched against kind of aggro and minions.
Reporting for duty.
So the board swings back into RolyPoly's favour pretty easily. This Vulcan is so awkward right now. Stealing 3 health just seems kind of bad really, but you don't have much of a choice here. But he decides to do nothing. Feeling very healthy on 30 life here.
Reporting for duty.
So now RolyPoly can kind of sit back too now. He doesn't really need to commit to anything. He just kind of make minions with his hero power, and he can kind of match the pace of Rez because he has board control. And this will give him the option to use stuff like Quartermaster now next turn with the Knife Juggler or something. He's got a lot of aggressive options next turn. He didn't need to actually take much of a turn. And Rez does the same thing. He just heals and passes. I mean, I quite like a shredder here. You know, just make a shredder, make a dude, and just keep hitting. You want to set up this Quartermaster for more of a lethal turn, I think, at this point. Mind Blast, very interesting. So he just goes for a heal. So this priest has actually done nothing for about 3 turns now, and this paladin just keeps drawing cards, keeps drawing threats. I would actually drop a Quartermaster here for the lethal. Oh, it's just lethal. Yeah, if I'll bet the Ashbringer.
Well played.
So RolyPoly's actually going to take game number 1 very convincingly there. Had a lot of top decks from the priest that were a bit useless. So this is where the sideboard becomes a very interesting thing. So in stuff like in games like Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh, your sideboard is generally used to, you know, to tech in cards against other matchups. So if you're playing aggro, for example, and there's lots of control, you're playing against a control player, you might tech in some anti-control cards, for example. But another thing that makes kind of Hearthstone a bit more interesting, that each class has a lot of archetypes. So for example, the Paladin now is very obviously mid-range, but it could also be an aggro Paladin or a control Paladin if it wanted to be, and the sideboard will give the flexibility for it to change its archetype to match certain matchups. But looking at that game there, I don't think RolyPoly really needs to make any changes. His mid-range Paladin dealt with that priest pretty easily, so it's more on Rez now to make changes.